Guys, we're going to answer some questions now that came to us via Twitter. It always makes me a little bit nervous because I did not pre-screen these. We'll just see what we have and go from there. Let's start with Mike S. Darnell. Why is Sean McDermott not in the discussion for Coach of the Year, considering the situation he came into and what he and Brandon Beane have built in Buffalo? Chris, I'll give you that one first.
Well, I'm the president of Sean McDermott's fan club. So, yeah, I mean, for me, he is.
You're the president of a lot of fan clubs.
Well, just to what? Aaron Rodgers and Odell Beckham Jr. That's the only ones I've
played. It's up to 3.
Okay, well, that's 3. I got coaches, offense, I got a few guys there, all right? But either way, huge fan of Sean McDermott. He does deserve to be in that conversation. He's one of the best coaches in football. But, it's a year, too, where I think there's some other guys that really stand out, whether that's Shanahan, Tomlin, Harbaugh, LaFleur. So it's a strong year. I'm genuinely intrigued this year to see who wins this award because I feel like usually we have a tell this time of the year who it's going to be, guys. I don't know. You tell me. Who do you think the leader in the clubhouse is for Coach of the Year right now?
Well, my leader in the clubhouse right now would be Mike Tomlin. But as I say about all these awards every year, somebody asked me last week, so does that clinch the MVP for Lamar Jackson? No. I mean, it's a 17-week award. What happens if it was such and such happens the last 2 weeks and Russell Wilson does this and Lamar Jackson does that? I don't know. But as of right now, Lamar Jackson would be my MVP choice. As of right now, it would be Mike Tomlin for me. But the last 2 weeks of the season means something. If the Steelers drop a couple of games here and don't play well down the stretch, that means something. Exactly the same with if the Bills go to New England on Saturday and win. Look, he's in the discussion right now, along with Harbaugh and Shanahan. Those 4 guys would be at the top of my list right now. So it's not over. Right. I think he's got a shot.
Yeah.
And I think this is going to be a divided year for Coach of the Year. There isn't one dominant guy who I think should get it.
And I don't think we'll start to get clarity, guys, until we see the playoff tree, the seedings in the 2 conferences. If the Saints are the 1 seed, how do you not consider Sean Payton, considering you went 5-0 without Drew Brees? If the Bills end up winning the AFC East, how do you not seriously consider Sean McDermott at that point? A lot to be determined, though, over the final 2 weeks of the season before we lock in those playoff berths. And John Harbaugh needs consideration. He's going to have number 1 tied up if they beat the Browns this weekend, and that revolutionary offense and the faith that he's shown in Greg Roman. How does John Harbaugh not get a lot of votes? So I agree with you, Peter. I think a lot of different guys are going to get votes, but the clarity for the voter doesn't arrive until we know exactly where all the teams end up in that playoff tree. All right, let's move on to James Cam 17. Predict the NFC East coaches for the Cowboys, the Giants, and Washington in 2020. Peter King, you get this one first.
Boy, I'm glad you gave me some notice on this one, Mike. Okay, so, all right, I will predict for the New York Giants, Mike McCarthy. I will predict for the Dallas Cowboys, Lincoln Riley, and I will predict for Washington. I have no idea.
Go with Urban Meyer.
But let's just say for the sake. No, I'm not going with Urban Meyer. I just can't believe that. Sorry. I'll give him Greg Roman, even though I think Roman is going to have other choices. I think Daniel Snyder is going to want to go with a quarterback whisperer.
You want me to answer that, Mike, or you want to go to the next one?
Go ahead, Chris. No, go ahead. Answer.
If you're going to give me, I'm going to go Giants, Josh McDaniels. I'm going to go Urban Meyer, Redskins. Okay, I think they need some sort of splash thing, and I have no idea or inkling of what they want to do yet, so I don't know. And then for the Dallas Cowboys, I think I'm going to go Matt Rule from Baylor. I just think he's going to get a lot of sniffs in the NFL. It makes sense a little to what Peter's saying with the Lincoln Riley thing. Matt Rule's right down the road as well there from the Dallas Cowboys, and I think he's done a phenomenal job. Got NFL head coach written all over him.
All right, I'm going to go Ron Rivera with the Giants because I would suspect that Dave Gettleman has been working his butt off over the last 2 weeks to try to get ownership to keep Gettleman and give Rivera a shot. I'll agree with you, Chris, on Urban Meyer to Washington because I think it's Bruce Allen's Hail Mary pass to try to keep his job. And for Dallas, I'm going with two alternatives. Sean Payton's the first choice. And if they don't get Sean Payton, Mike Zimmer. All right, let's move on to the next one. Let's just let that hang out there, and let's move on to the next one. At West Coast Bias, after reading Sim's top quarterbacks of all time, I'm worried about him. When was the last time he went to the doctor? Chris?
I don't know, at West Coast Bias. Why don't you learn how to spell my name correctly, and then we'll get into doctor talk, okay? But I know that what's the problem with my quarterback list? That's what I want to know. I mean, what is it? Okay, yeah, but people don't like that I put Breeze 10. Is that the problem? I mean, yeah, I don't know what else to say. Sorry. Breeze is awesome. Being in the top 10 of anything career-wise is amazing. This is not like a bad thing, but what do people think like John Elway and Dan Marino, if they played with Sean Payton, wouldn't have the same stats? I bet you they'd have more than 0 MVPs. I bet you they'd have more than 1 Super Bowl. So again, that's just where I come down on that. I'm sorry, everybody. I can't please everyone.
All right, let's move on to the next question. Terry Gensler, 14. How much stock do you put into what Carson Wentz is doing and his abilities based on the surrounding cast of characters he's had on offense this year, Peter?
The last 6 quarters have shown me that the Philadelphia Eagles' faith in Carson Wentz is well placed. Playing with mostly backup guys and guys who weren't even on your team a month or a month and a half ago. I give him a tremendous amount of credit. Even though he's beating lesser teams, his last 2 drives against the New York Giants were big-time drives in a game you needed to save your season. His end of the game against Washington, those were big-time throws against Washington, particularly his high-arcing throw to win the game to Greg Ward. So to me, I applaud the patience and also the faith that Doug Peterson has consistently shown this year when Carson Wentz has been exceedingly up and down.
Yeah, I think Carson Wentz has opened up a lot of eyes the last 2 weeks. First of all, this is what a franchise quarterback does. Oh, the team's hurt. Oh, we're not playing good on defense or offense. Don't worry, guys. I'll just make drives happen when we need it. Doesn't matter. Oh, nobody's open. Doesn't matter. I'll just stick it under your chin no matter how good the coverage is. Oh, the pass protection's not that great. Oh, I'll just stand there and people will be hitting me and trying to pull me down as I throw lasers all over the field. Carson Wentz, I really do. I feel like public perception has changed the last 2 weeks about him a little bit because people realize the supporting cast is so underwhelming there. And yeah, it's not a great teams he's playing, but I think we're all seeing the talent that guy has. I mean, this is a guy, he's got MVP capabilities. We saw that already. They just need to get a weapon or two around the guy, and I think he's got superstar written all over him.
Yeah, and Chris, something we've said in the not-too-distant past, if you take Carson Wentz and put him on the Rams this year, and you take Jared Goff and put him on the Eagles, the Rams are in the playoffs, and the Eagles are 4-12. Right?
I'm with you there, Mike. I totally am. And I know it's hard to play that what-if game, but I think anybody who's watched football the last 2 weeks is, you see that Carson Wentz is capable of doing special things on the football field. I'm not saying he's Patrick Mahomes and Lamar Jackson, but he's still got special talents and certainly worthy of that franchise quarterback label.
All right, let's squeeze in one more. At Broncos fan, where do you see the Broncos next year? They have their quarterback at least for next season, tons of cap space and a high draft pick. Chris, I'll start with you. What do you think they can do in 2020?
Well, I think they're one of those teams to say, watch out for in 2020. First off, let's remember this, guys, right? It's Vic Fangio. It's going to be a second year next year. He's got guys still learning this new system. He doesn't have all the guys he wants for a 3-4. They don't have arguably their best defensive player in Bradley Chubb. I mean, it's him or Von Miller. So think about him being back next year. And then you talk about Drew Lock, Phillip Lindsay, Noah Fant, Cortland Sutton, Tim Patrick, Deshaun Hamilton. I mean, that's some young studs, young firepower. I think the Broncos have set themselves up to very, very much to be in the playoff conversation next year and be one of those teams.
Look, here's the thing with the Denver Broncos. The best thing that has happened to them is the emergence of Drew Lock for this reason and this reason only. Now there isn't pressure on John Elway and his right-hand man in personnel, Matt Russell, to go out and to search again for a quarterback. You're going with Drew Lock in 2020. That's your lot right now. So let us improve the rest of the team. Let's make our offensive line a good, solid offensive line.
Yep.
Let's give the secondary some young help. You got Chris Harris Jr., Kareem Jackson. They're getting older. So you've got to do something to give that secondary some youth. And Chris, you are absolutely right. Right now, one of the top 5 young receivers in the NFL is Courtland Sutton. He's got incredible hands. He's acrobatic. He is a fantastic young football player. To me, there's no reason why the Denver Broncos are not a 10-win team in 2020 and a wild card playoff team, a couple of wins shy of Kansas City.
And, you know, when you think about it, all these years since Peyton Manning's retired, where they ricochet from one quarterback to the next, in the AFC West next year, the Chiefs have Mahomes, the Broncos have Locke, and the other two teams, who knows what they're going to do at the most important position on the field. That instantly gives the Broncos an advantage heading into 2020.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.